Hi, I'm 2021 Why Not Cam Awards winner Chelsea Poe. I'm here to tell you about my cam studio, Treasure Cams. Treasure Cams is a performer-led webcam studio owned by queer porn star Bella Vendetta. We welcome all 21 plus models who want to earn a paycheck from home as cam performers. We're open to all body types, genders, persuasions, and presentations. You get access to our performer-only forums, monthly team meetings, as well as help with promotion and marketing. For customers, check out treasurecams.com to see all of our models, schedules, and photos. treasurecams.com. Hello everyone, welcome to the Performers Pod. I'm Chelsea Poe. I'm here today with cam girl and indie performer Augustine. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to be here and get to talk with you today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you. You might have heard us talk on Augustine's podcast. What is it? Oh wow.
Yeah, oh wow, the podcast. It's going into Skins UK episodes, so very different from this podcast.
Also, in another way, not.
Yeah.
I'm a giant Skins fan, as you learned from that podcast.
Yeah, if you guys want to find that, it's just oh wow, the podcast, and you can look for Chelsea's episode.
Yeah. You honestly kind of made a dream come true for me. I was such a fangirl of that show in probably when I was like around 20, the age you probably shouldn't be super into that show. And getting to go onto your podcast and talk about specifically that episode with like the Molly orgy thing or Molly hookup, definitely completely within my range of what I want to do as a person. So I really appreciate that.
Beautiful.
So where are you from? Are you from the Midwest? I found out about you from Felicia Fisher, so I just kind of placed in my head you're also from the Midwest.
Yeah, I'm actually from the East Coast. I'm from New England and have
Oh,
kind of
really?
lived all over the East Coast. And then I moved to Chicago 6 years ago. So I've been here for a while. And that's when I really like started working in the industry and everything like that was more so when I moved here.
Yeah, how did you kind of get into the industry? Like what was your life kind of like before and when you were entering the industry?
So I started out on FetLife. So when I was still living in New England, I was in a really small town in Vermont and I had a FetLife account and was just like meeting people from that, and that was really my early interest. And I was doing some workshops at the college I was at, doing like BDSM bondage workshops and that kind of thing. And then I moved down to Orlando and I started like selling videos on FetLife
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, like mailing out packages to people and doing some like foot massage stuff. And then when I moved to Chicago, I discovered the world of online sex work and camming, and I was just absolutely amazed that there were entire sites that had it set up automatically for you to interact with clients in that way. So I started on my free cams in 2016.
Wow, that's so cool that you were just like organically doing it, just kind of like organically built up. What like made you want to get on FetLife? Were you just like always kind of knew you were into some sort of BDSM thing or?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was being on Tumblr, which also kind of
Yeah,
ties in with skins and stuff, but just
for
that whole
sure.
era of like
What an era
being.
it was.
Yeah, there were like the gifs on Tumblr and the very like daddy and kitten kind of stuff. And I was like, ooh, I want to get into this. And I think that led me to FetLife.
That's real as hell. Yeah, it really blew my mind. I first saw BDSM on MySpace and it was just like a girl in a cage. I was like, what the fuck is this? Oh my God, how can I be that girl in the cage? Like that
Yeah.
was my immediate reaction.
I would have to say Tumblr definitely sparked that within me. And I think just aesthetically and yeah, it just was really appealing to me, especially being in really small rural towns. You're kind of just bored and have nothing else to do. So
Yeah, I feel like people don't understand how rural like New England really is. Like when you're in like Vermont, New Hampshire, Western Massachusetts, like you're just in the mountains in
Hmm.
woods, and that's like it.
And there's a lot of freaky people out there too. So the first like quote unquote client I ever had from FetLife would drive like 3 hours through Vermont, and we would do like bondage stuff and like some age play stuff. Like I would like put him in diapers and stuff, and that was like the real for it. And then I've gotten so much tamer since then. I feel like since being in the city and doing online stuff, I feel like that was the realest it ever really was.
Yeah, I feel like it's so interesting when you're in rural environments because the BDSM scenes are so small there. Like the first dungeon I went to was like in some warehouse in Michigan that was like 20 people. And it was like a terrible experience only because this girl was sucking her like boyfriend or dom's cock, and it was to the Nickelback song Photograph, and she wouldn't break eye contact with me from across the room. I'm just like,
Oh
I
my
can't
god,
do this shit.
that's like as real as it gets.
Like you exactly like when you're in small town, you're gonna get these really crazy experiences like that. Or a guy driving 3 hours is like, I'm gonna drive 3 hours and I want to be in a diaper. That's what I want to do.
And you just look at your life and you're like, what led me to being here doing this right now?
I also feel like when you're in such a rural environment, like there's not that many people, so you're like one of the only people into this stuff. So everyone else is so vanilla, and then you're like, wow, I'm the strangest person in the world.
Right, yeah, and then coming into the city, I feel like there are so many people who are into the scene, and I'm just one of many. Whereas, like, for that guy in Vermont, I actually know that he really liked this Dom who lived in Canada, and he only liked me because I kind of looked like her, and I was the only, like, dominant person around.
Do you want to shout out that Dom?
No, but she was on Tumblr.
They all were on Tumblr.
Yeah, and I will just never forget those early memories. And there's none of the glamour either. Like when you're in the city, like I haven't been to LA, but like in New York and Chicago, there's so much more of that like glamorous sort of edge to it, I think. And in
Yeah.
the woods, you're just like, I'm in the woods putting a grown man in a diaper. Like,
Yeah, it's a whole different vibe. It's just like you're like my first threesome was after a BDSM party, and it's just like, oh, you're in a basement in Michigan getting fucked by two girls right now. It wasn't like, oh, there's this glamour. We're at this fancy hotel or something. It was just like, it's real.
and then you all just have to like see each other around town.
Oh yeah, definitely. Forever. So when you went from doing kind of the more DIY stuff to becoming on campsites and probably things like mini vids, I'm assuming you have.
Yeah.
I feel like the mini vids to Tumblr, I mean, Tumblr to mini vids, I feel like was definitely a thing that happened.
Yeah. That
How was
was
that?
I started doing again like age play kind of stuff, doing
Mhm.
like sub stuff on many vids, and that was very much the like pink chokers with the heart jewelry and
Mhm.
like the cat ears and like the tail butt plugs. That was like how
Oh
I think
yeah.
everyone transitioned from like Tumblr to ManyVids. So I was doing a lot of that, and on cam I was doing that as well. And I think I've shared the sentiment with a couple of people, just like your first days on cam when you realize, oh my god, I can make like
It's
$50.
crazy. Yeah. I
Hmm.
had that first time where I made $20. I'm like, I'm in my bedroom and I just made $20.
Yeah.
How?
And I remember because of course there's like the screen grabs of every cam show I've ever done just like floating around, and I
Oh my
wore a
God.
vest. I was wearing a vest.
What kind of vest?
Just like a zip up punk vest.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like sitting there like squinting at the webcam like what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, I definitely was wearing like an emo t-shirt for the first. I think I was wearing a Bring Me the Horizon t-shirt if I'm being honest.
Iconic.
Yeah, it's a real aesthetic.
And I
I don't know
was
why. I don't know
I
why either of us thought that was the way to go for camming.
because you don't even know what you're doing. Like, I think so many people come into camming and they have a friend who does it, or they like are around the industry or they've done other types of online work, but
Hmm.
I had never done anything online, so I just had no idea like what to do.
So did you start camping in Chicago or Orlando?
I started camping in Chicago. I was like sharing a one bedroom apartment with someone, and so I had to put up a shower curtain in our kitchen, and I sat on the kitchen floor with my laptop.
Oh my God.
And so he could like sleep at night. And yeah, I would sit on the hardwood floor with my little Chromebook behind a shower curtain for like 6 hours.
Camping on a Chromebook, that's as real as it gets.
Yeah,
It really is. I did that for multiple years.
it was kind of great, except for all the like crashing and lagging. But yeah, now we have vastly improved setups, obviously.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. I feel like that's a good thing to tell camp girls just starting out. It's okay to have like the worst setup, the worst sense of style. Like you're gonna figure it out. Like when you're in it for a while, you kind of just I don't know. To me, it's just masturbating in my bedroom now.
Yeah, you learn like your angles and the lighting and the technology and that all. But I think that the things I was doing in the beginning, I still have so many people that watch me that were there from day one, and it's because like my personality hasn't really changed. So that's why people will watch you. It doesn't really matter how like perfect your setup is.
Yeah. Also, I mean, most people on campsites are just kind of horny. I feel like it's almost like the strip club mentality a little bit, where you just almost have to get lucky with that one person who comes in who's like, okay, I'm horny and I want to spend $200 right now.
Yeah, like if I've found more of a niche with like just talking with people, and I think that's how I started transitioning into doming, is because a lot of the time this is so embarrassing. I'm really like airing out all my dirty laundry
You
here.
can air out all your dirty laundry, whatever you want to do. I mean, there's been people on the show who've admitted plastic surgeries for the first time, announced porn retirements. I had a performer name this girl, and she was just like, she's a bitch.
So I'm gonna go listen
So
to your whole catalog after
I
this.
will I'll give you links. Yeah, there's a few crazy ones where I'm just like, you can air whatever you want. If they come at me, I'll just be like, hey, I didn't say that.
So my thing is just embarrassing. Like it was very cringy, embarrassing beginnings, and like a lot of the time on cam, I would be like, okay, we're gonna do a countdown to this sexy show, and people would be like, honestly, please keep your clothes on. Like we don't really like we don't want to see all that. We'd
Oh
rather have you
no.
just like sit and talk with us, and like people pay a lot more money for me to just talk to them.
I mean, ultimately it's about the money, so you're
Right.
good.
So I'm following the money. I was like, okay, if I do like non-nude, like doming stuff, then I can use that talent of like talking people through things more so, because I am not like a stripper at heart. I do not have the like natural.
Same. I every time anyone's like, "Oh, can you dance on cam?" I'm like, "No, I cannot." I'm like, I'm really good at porn performing, and that's kind of there's not much overlap.
Yeah, I think yeah, there has to be that like natural sense of rhythm and the timing, and for me it's just always I've had more of a knack of like talking with people.
Yeah, so how long have you been camming now?
So I started in June 2016, so it'll be 7 years next month,
Wow,
right?
congratulations. That's a bit of time.
Yeah, and I started on my free cams, and then a couple of years ago I switched over to Chatterbait, and I've found that to be much easier for me. I think that there's just a bigger pool of people, and I think my
For
free
sure.
cams is like a very specific audience, and I don't really like fit the mold of what people are looking for there, but I like Chatterbait because it's kind of just like a free for all.
It definitely is a free for all, both in a good and bad way. It's been one of the sites I've been using literally since like college, since I've been like 19. So I have like a decade on it or something. But yeah, I feel like it's a free for all where it's not like very curated at all. It's just like, oh, there's a bunch of girls here and there's a bunch of people, and most of them don't have money, but a few do.
Yeah, you can kind of, I think, find your niche on Chatterbait because there's like some someone for everybody on there. And then sometimes you just go to the front page and there's like weird naked orgies happening, and you're just like,
Yeah.
okay.
That is the crazy thing about Chaturbate is no matter like the genre you're in, if you're doing crazy enough stuff, you will be on the top page of it. Like I've had like threesomes with other trans women, and it's like, oh, there's no way it's gonna be on the front page. They're not gonna want to be trans inclusive. It's like, no, there's enough numbers. We don't give a fuck. It's the number one thing now.
Yeah, and I kind of like that. I like that if you put in the time or you get the audience, you kind of get a fair shot compared to other sites that I feel like they just kind of have their favorites and those are the only ones you see over and over again. So,
Yeah, how do you kind of feel about like the whole camming community? Because I feel like there's a lot of sites. I don't know if my free cams is like this, but going to award shows and conventions, I almost feel like a lot of cam sites and cam girls, it almost feels like a cult where it's like, this site saved my life. And I'm like, I've just never felt that way with any website I've ever worked for.
no, I have no allegiance to any particular site, and I think MFC was definitely kind of like that because I really like their merch and they give out a lot of merch at events, so I went to a lot of events to get the merch. And I was like, this is cool, but my therapist did tell me to watch anti-MLM videos to like work through some
Oh
of
my
my
God.
thoughts.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a weird position because I feel most cam girls who win awards, they're like, "Oh, this is my family, this is all this stuff." And now being a person who won these awards, I'm like, camming kind of sucks most of the time. And I'm like not afraid to say that. And I feel like there's just this whole thing almost with camming culture that they almost want to overhype it in a way with a lot of these sites where it's like we're a family, all these people have my back all the time. And for the most part with cam sites, I don't necessarily think that's true. I feel like a lot of the time these companies don't really have cam performers back when it comes to like threats they receive or just like the payment breakdown and all these different things. um I definitely had these issues with cam 4 actually, and they've eventually started owning up to this stuff. um, Even at the award show I went to, I was at the Cam 4 table for some reason, even though I haven't worked with them for years. And on stage, when the um, person from Cam 4 accepted their award, they're like, "We fucked up a lot, but hopefully we're better now."
Oh my god.
I'm like, "Okay, all right, I like that attitude at least." I'm like, I can respect that.
Camming is such a messy industry, and I kind of love it for that. And when I started on my free cams, like a huge part of it was there was just drama all the time. Like
Mhm.
2016 MFC is almost like 2014 Tumblr to me with like the nostalgia I have just for like the aesthetics, and everyone was just smoking giant bongs. Like I was smoking bongs all day on
Yeah.
MFC, which is so not allowed anymore. And people were getting blackout drunk like every single day and like starting fights with other models, and I was here for it. I was like, this is hilarious.
I
Like,
was, yeah, I had my party time definitely like the early 2010s where we'd just be like coming back from the bar. Or I used to work at the kink.com armory, and they have a bar across the street. And if you work at the armory, you drink for half off. So what would happen is we would cam and then we would get like really drunk, and then you would come back and then you would cam more because it's open 24 hours a day. And then you're like have no memory of camming and being like, wow, I just made $150 and I have no idea how.
right. Yeah, it's definitely different. I've like gotten sober in the past a little over a year, and that has also really changed my relationship with working online because like it is easy to just get into the party mindset of
For
like I can
sure.
just do this, and it's like easier to make money when you're just like I'm having fun, whatever, like tip me for a shot. Like
Yeah, I don't know how people do that shit. I never really mixed drinking on cam. I guess I've always been afraid to get in trouble with stuff where I'm like, what if they figure out I'm drinking on here and they get me?
yeah, I think it can be and I've seen some people they like have sort of a unhealthy relationship with it, and I am happy that I've been able to sort of stave that off. And some of that is also from doming because it's like how much can you be drunk and be like slurring your words, like telling, like you kind of have to, like I have to focus more, I think.
Yeah, you have to use your
Uh,
head.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a especially risky thing, especially when people are really young in the industry, just the amount of drugs and alcohol that's really accessible. And when you're that age, it seems terrific. But when you look back at it and you're like, maybe working in a building where they provided free alcohol maybe wasn't a good idea when you're 22 years old. But when you're 22, you're like, wow, I don't have to leave work. I can just stay here. It's great.
Right. Yeah, and I was 22 when I started camming, so it definitely was a different mindset, and I had been doing transcription work online, which pays like $4 an
Yeah.
hour if you're lucky. So I was just like, I'm living the high life. Like, I can get drunk and go to these model parties. And like, I went to AVN in 2017. So I had just started in the industry. And I was like, I'm
Mhm.
going to Vegas. I'm going to go meet people. And that was like this whole new world to me. I'd never been to anything like that.
Yeah, what was that like? I mean, for me, it blew my mind just how vast this industry is.
I had never been treated like that, like, and being an MFC model primarily, so I went like with them and having the like designated lounge room with the snacks and the merch and like
Yeah.
the model pass, and I didn't even know anybody there. I just kind of lucked out and met some nice people, but there I will always remember there were some people that told me there will never be a porn industry in Chicago. I was just like, okay.
That's such a weird, specific thing to say.
Yeah, because I was like, yeah, I live in Chicago. It's been pretty great, and I would love to like see more studios and stuff in Chicago because I think there's a lot of people in the industry there, which is true.
And
There's so
history of porn there too.
yeah, like there are so many sex workers in Chicago, and everybody travels through here. And they were like, the industry is only going to be in Vegas, and that's it. Like the future of the industry is only in Vegas. And
Ew.
I was just kind of like, all right, bet. But it kind of like motivated me to build more of a community here, which is how I met like Felicia and other people in the industry here. It really has been a lifesaver to meet them.
Yeah, it's really been mind-blowing just seeing how much Chicago has changed with porn recently. I'm originally from 2 hours north of Chicago, so it was always like the big city to me. And even like when I first started doing porn, it was very occasionally I could get a screening somewhere. But now that there's just a festival in Chicago 2 weeks ago, at the at the Leather Archive, and I don't know, it just seems like there's so much more energy going on there. I think minivids just kind of allows a porn scene to kind of pop up anywhere now.
Yeah, definitely. That must have been interesting too. Like, did you ever go to any events in Chicago when you were like younger and starting out or
Um, I moved pretty quick. So I started camping in 2011. I moved here by 2013. So it was only like 2 years. I always like flew out of Chicago, but there wasn't really much going on, honestly. It was mostly coming back afterwards because every time I go home to Michigan, I have to fly through Chicago. So I usually just take the train up, and I usually try to set something up. I did a few screenings at the Pleasure Chest, the now closed location, and oh, the University of Chicago paid to screen my gangbang, which was crazy.
that's amazing.
Yeah, so they screened it with like an Andy Warhol film, and they're like, it's porn and sex. And I'm just like, what the fuck? You're really doing this?
That's iconic.
Yeah, it's still like one of the things I can't believe that actually happened, where I'm just like, how did this actually happen? Um, but it just seems like there's so many more people there now, and it just seems to be growing. Also, like, there's so much history and porn in Chicago. You know, Playboy started there, right?
I didn't even know
Yeah,
that. No.
the original Playboy Mansion is in Chicago.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's around somewhere. There's like all these like hidden rabbits and like the architecture and stuff.
I'm gonna have to look into that and
Yeah,
go on a scavenger hunt.
definitely should. Yeah, I don't know. I think the thing I like the most about doing this podcast is just learning that porn is so many more places than just LA and Vegas.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I feel like I've been a little detached from it from only doing online stuff here. and it's been harder to like integrate into what's actually going on in the city.
Mhm.
And I think just like meeting people, and I'm sorry that there's construction
Oh,
happening
you're totally
immediately.
fine.
Okay.
I think there's about construction to start here too, so I totally get you.
Okay. Yeah, problems of being in the city. But yeah, just trying to network with people in real life, and yeah, I want to go check out these the Playboy Mansion, like the leather archives. It's cool that there are resources for people here because I think it would be really alienating if there was like no community and I was just working online for 6 years with no friends and no events or anything.
Yeah, you need that sense of at least like peers and stuff in your industry and kind of no matter what you're in.
And I wonder if that's where people start getting into kind of the camming cult that we were talking about, is because there
Yeah.
are some people in these like remote areas and the only connection they have is through the website, so they get really attached to it. And I'm like, the websites kind of mean nothing because I have my people here.
Yeah, I feel like it has a little bit of like a culty sorority sort of vibe where it's like all skinny white girls and they're all part of this club and it's just like, oh, okay.
One of the things when I went, here's more embarrassing stories from my past, but
Thank you for airing this out. Very appreciated.
it's so funny because I try to like play it so cool in videos and be like, I'm the cool Dom, and then anyone who's watched me from day one knows that it's such bullshit. Like, so when I went to AVN and I sat down at the MFC model table and I was like, hey guys, like, so how'd everybody start in the industry? And everyone gave me a death glare and got up and walked away and
Oh
sat
my
at another
god.
table.
Oh my god.
And I was like, is this like prison? Like, I'm not supposed to ask, like, why are you guys here? Like...
That's the weirdest shit.
But the porn performers were so nice to me at AVN. Those are the people that I ended up befriending. Like, I didn't make friends with any cam girls, but the porn performers, I don't want to like name any names, but they were so nice. They were like, come hang out with me and my friends. Like, we'll buy you drinks, blah, blah, blah. We'll like give you some money for the slot machines. And I was like, you guys are really nice.
I feel like that's most of my experience at AVN is just like, especially when you're about to walk the red carpet, you're in line with people and it's like, you might be next to someone who's won 15 AVNs next to you. So it might be like Riley Reid or someone. And then the person behind you is like, oh, this is my first time ever out of my hometown. This is my first nomination. I've been working for this for 10 years and I'm from like Red Deer, Alberta or something. It's just like that you can be there for all those experiences. And I feel like people are so genuinely nice to each other because it's like this whole, it's just such a surreal experience because I feel like all of our lives are so feeling like, you know, obviously there's an audience and stuff, but you don't feel genuinely famous, I feel like most of the time. I think even like big porn stars like Angela White or Caden Cross, I don't think every day they're getting recognized on the street. But when you're at AVN, it's this whole different experience. It makes you really be like, holy shit, this is really my life.
Yeah, definitely. And I am like such a small performer, and like I don't think anyone's ever recognized me anywhere, and that's totally fine because I have like a couple of jobs, so I'm like I don't need to be
Yeah.
like I mean, it would be cool to win an award obviously, but I don't do any of the work to deserve it. So like
That would be a very good award acceptance speech. I appreciate this, but I don't do any of the work for this.
and like seeing how people like you do so much, and like my friend Puck, who has I think just won their first AVN award like in the past year or something, and they work 24/7 to deserve that and get the recognition and everything. And it's also it is an interesting being like a smaller performer who kind of just has like my little audience.
Yeah, I feel like it's all just like kind of what you want to get out of it. I feel like so many people can be so overdriven in this industry and almost over competitive because you see the people around you and you're like, okay, why am I not doing this or that? And that you can actually be like, okay, this is what I want to do. I feel like that's like really important for career stability.
Yeah, definitely. There's like no limit to what you can do, which is a beautiful thing and also can make you a little nuts. Like if
Yeah.
you get used to make, and I was just talking about this with Felicia the other day, like you get used to making a certain amount of money and then it's like, well, all these other people are making more money, so I could try to make more money. Or like you win one award and it's like, well, I could win three awards. Like you could
Yeah,
just keep
that's
going.
I'm very happy that I won my like first award after figuring my mental health stuff out because I already can see myself 4 years ago be like, okay, now you have to win it again or you're a failure. Like, I totally can see how people, especially when they're winning so much, how, just being nominated then feels like a giant failure. Not getting nominated probably even feels like catastrophic. Like, I feel like it can just turn into this highly competitive thing. I think particularly with like niche porn, like plus size porn or trans porn, especially kind of before the last few years, where you only had the one opportunity and it's all these people who are kind of like you and being kind of used against you as competition.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure that can come with the industry, and I think it would be detrimental to my mental health to try to keep up with people that like have the energy and the capability and the motivation to put out 50 videos a
Yeah.
month. And I've tried to do that and I get burned out, and so for me it's become more like sex work is a way for me to like invest in other things so that I can like live the life that I want to live, but I can't get too like focused and like tunnel vision on just like the industry. Like I have to always have other stuff going on.
I mean, that's like a healthy work-life balance, it sounds like, and that's a big
Definitely.
thing, especially right now for people, because I feel like that's what everyone's searching for.
Yeah, I would recommend if anyone's like a new performer, like definitely invest in your education and invest in like yourself and your health, and like it's easy to just like want to, especially because I do a lot of like financial domination stuff, so it's easy to be like, oh, I just want to buy like luxury goods, and there's like a time and a place for that, but if that's like the only thing you're investing in, I would just like advise people to invest in other parts of your life too.
Yeah, I think especially if you're new to the industry, even if you've been in for a while, I just think having a therapist to vent all this shit to is so good because the amount of shit you deal with as a sex worker, whether it's being a performer who's dealing with bullshit on set and all the stress that goes with getting ready and doing all these shoots, or whether you're a cam girl and you're dealing with these trolls in your room every day. Like, I just feel like there's so much with sex work that it's just good to vent out to someone.
Definitely. I'm a huge proponent for mental health, and it's like something I'm talking about more because I'm now in grad school doing clinical psych stuff.
Oh,
And
it's just so exciting.
yeah, so I am like seeing it kind of on both ends where like I have my therapist who is fortunately very like sex work positive, but has also helped me find that work life balance. And like also wanting to, I don't know, just take care of my mental health, take care of like my life, and then interact with clients in a way that I have like boundaries with them and I don't just like burn myself out and go crazy.
Yeah, I feel like just viewing how I interact with clients in the rest of my life is almost separate. I feel like it's been a good thing because it's just like I have to be more assertive than I would ever be in my regular life.
Yeah. Are you mostly doing like camming or calls or like filming these
I
days?
most so I'm right now trying to put out like 2 movies a year just with COVID stuff. And that's been a battle just with shoots being delayed because someone gets COVID, something else falls through. But I cam 4 or 5 times a week. So I've been doing this for, yeah, literally like a decade now. I started in 2011. So camming's kind of been my main hustle. But if I have porn shoots that come up, obviously I'm not camming when that's happening. But yeah, mostly camming through the whole pandemic.
There's something fun about the live interaction. I think some people tell me like, why don't you just film more and like post more videos? And I'm like, I don't know, there's like something about the interaction with people live and the funny things that happen when you're camming. Like people say the most off the wall shit and it's hilarious sometimes.
I think when you're just viewed as that and you view it as just a person coming up to you and being like, "Oh, I want to do this, this, and this," and then you're like, "Okay, that's great. What are you looking to spend?" And then there's like, "I have to leave." It's just like I can't imagine that interaction in real life with anyone. I just find that so humorous.
Yeah, and then you go out in the real world and you're like, which one of you was it?
Right?
Like,
Completely.
who was it that told me they want to like grind my toenails into flour and bake muffins and eat them or
Is
whatever?
that a true story?
No, but it's like pretty close to like some
Yeah.
of the
I
things.
used to have a guy who was super into like the yellow like I don't know, it's not latex, like the rubber gloves that people clean with.
Yeah.
Super into that every single day on Chatterbait. I think
Oh
through
my
like the entirety of my college, just be like, can you put on those for me every single day?
I think my most like specific guy was on MFC. Shout out if you're listening, but he would he would have me like put my contacts in and then like take them out and then like put my contacts back in. And then I was like, dude, I have an optometrist appointment coming up. Like, you should pay for my eye doctor. And he was like, no. And I'm like, fuck you.
What the fuck? That's so weird. I camming is so strange. When I worked at the armory, there was a cam girl in the other room. I think it was I can't remember who it was, but they have like the giant drums of silicone lube, and there's like, can you just pour that over yourself? So she went through like hundreds of dollars of silicone lube, and because it was the companies, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just her pouring like bottle after bottle after bottle of silicone lube on herself.
Oh, that's so expensive. My heart.
Right? I'm just like, okay. And
Oh
there's
my,
like, I just remember like the cleanup crew being so upset, being like, we don't know how to take this all off the floor because all the floors were tile.
oh my
Yeah,
God.
truly crazy. So you've kind of done sex work or a version of it in three different places: Chicago, Orlando, and New England. Do you ever like have nostalgia for those days that you kind of wish you could go back and do some, even maybe even camping in New England or Orlando and kind of work it back in? Or are you pretty happy in Chicago?
I am happy in Chicago. I do wish that I knew about camming in Orlando because it was warm and I had a really nice big like white condo apartment, so it would have been great for camming. And I just didn't even know that existed. I actually found out about camming because my roommate was not paying rent and I had to use his laptop to do transcription work, and I found MFC on his laptop and he had been spending rent money on MFC and was messaging the top models being like, "You're so beautiful." And
Oh
I
my
was so
God.
pissed and I was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Well, I'm getting my rent money back." Like,
That's so funny.
so I had
That's
no
how you
idea.
discovered camming.
Yeah, I was like using my roommate's laptop because he wasn't paying the rent and I needed to work on a computer.
That's such a funny story. Like, I feel like that might be the story to pull from this. Be like, yeah, my roommate didn't have rent money, so I checked his cam and I found the campsite, and now I'm a cam girl.
Yeah, because I was like, we gotta get our money back, bro. Like,
Were you like 20 or something at the time, or?
yeah, I had just turned, or I was 21 turning 22. So I had just never heard of it. He was a lot older than me and had clearly been around the block with the sites. But if I knew about it in Orlando, I definitely would have cammed there because it is fun in Florida. Like, it was such a free for all with, like, oh, I was doing Craigslist jobs for a long time
Rest in
until,
peace.
dude, I talk about that all the time with people. I'm like, I miss personals.
It's so crazy that that existed that long in a way that you could just be like, I want to fuck someone tonight, and someone would just show up, or you could just
Craigslist
sell
is the
your
realest.
panties or whatever.
I did that all the way up until I lived in Chicago. Like, they shut it down about a year into me living here, but I was going into like the Viagra triangle and like meeting guys to like sell my underwear to them and meeting them at like Starbucks downtown and just like this. I remember, oh my God, this is one guy who took the train from like Wisconsin to a Starbucks in Chicago to buy
Cause it's
my
rural.
yeah.
Like,
It was so fun. Like those are my favorite memories, to be honest. And then I think camming has some like remnant of that because you'll just have the weirdest encounter, and
you can definitely have some weird shit still.
filming is like fun and it's like good money wise and it's a good investment to like put the content out there that people can buy, but it's like you don't have the fun conversation.
Yeah, I feel like on porn sets, like I feel like I've gotten into some like really weird experiences. I've shot porn in there's a mainstream company shooting porn in Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts.
Oh,
It was when the Obamas were there.
oh my god.
It was the strangest experience. It was so weird. We were just like in the middle of the woods. At first I thought the director was gonna kill me. I was like, I'm in the middle of it's so you have to take like a ferry over the part of the ocean to get there.
Yeah.
And it was like this rainstorm and we were driving through like these windy roads and I'm like, oh my god, what if this is her whole plan to murder me?
Yeah, you're just
It
like
was
out
not.
there.
No, we just shot a porno, but that was like my immediate reaction. I'm like, I'm literally in the middle of nowhere and it's all rich people. They do not care.
Yeah, the Cape is an interesting place. The Cape to me is like
Hmm.
decidedly not that horny for me.
Yeah, I shot in do you know Hyannis there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I also shot another movie there. Just the weirdest places in New England I've shot movies.
Were
Like
they based there or did they travel there to shoot?
Um, yeah, they were based there. So they
Okay.
were, yeah, we did Martha's Vineyard, we did New Hampshire, but we had to fly in through Maine, and then yeah, we did the Cape like twice. Just the weirdest places to shoot porn. Like
That's
the
so
places
funny.
that you would never assume your porn career would take you.
No, I I definitely wouldn't imagine. I've never heard like and I always wonder because I'm from there, so I'm always like what's going on in New England these days and I've never heard of that. That's funny.
Yeah, I also did my BDSM slave training in Western Massachusetts, like a mile from Vermont. So just the weirdest shit.
That area because of the colleges and stuff, there's definitely more people. The Cape, I'm always like, it's like dads.
Yeah, my ex's parents lived there. So when I was like shooting porn, they're like, "Oh, if you want to get dinner over at our house." I'm like, I'm okay, thank you though.
Like not related to porn, but just my favorite Cape story is like, where was I? I was on Nantucket and I asked someone
Hmm.
for $1 for the bus and they handed me 100 and were like, here you go.
Holy shit.
And
It's
I was
so
just like,
crazy. Like in Martha's Vineyard, you see like rich people walking around, but they're in sweatpants, but you can tell. You're like, that person has fucking money.
I was
It's
so
the
broke on Nantucket. I was cooking veggie dogs over a can, when you like light a fire in the
yeah.
can, and I'm just like on the beach being like, I don't belong here.
Yeah, so the Martha's Vineyard shoot was my first ever like mainstream porn shoot. So I was getting flown out by the company at like 6 a.m. from Oakland. And I apparently lost my debit card the night before. I didn't know. So I had no money. So I flew cross country and then like the driver picked me up from the airport. And then it was like a drive to the ferry. And I don't even know how I got on the ferry. I had no money. The driver like talked to the ferry guy and was like, yeah, it's fine. It was the
Oh.
sketchiest effing experience. Then on the way home, I got paid from the shoot, but it wasn't in cash. And I was like, oh, I can just cash a check at an ATM at the airport. Apparently, those are all only withdraw, so you
Oh.
can't deposit money. So I met this like rich girl who was from Massachusetts with like a family with money, but was like addicted to heroin and went to rehab and is now at like the University of Utah and is studying something along like queer porn. And they realized who I was, and then she showed me her tits on the plane.
Oh my
She's like, I got my tits pierced. You want to see? And she was in the middle seat and just like, show me your tits on the plane. I'm still friends with her on Facebook to this day.
Amazing.
Just the craziest people in New England.
Yeah, it gets real wild. Like that's I have become such a like goody two shoes since living in Chicago, which I think a lot of people like come from their small towns and they move to a city and they're like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
be wild and crazy, and I'm like, I had all my orgies in New England. And
Yeah.
since I've moved here, I've been in like a monogamous relationship with the same person. Like,
You're becoming the Midwestern wholesome.
I am. I like make casseroles and
Oh,
but yeah, New England gets real wild, but it's very like underground, and I recently was in Iceland just for vacation, and
yeah, I saw
that was
that. How was that?
it was interesting because the culture around sex there is very underground, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I was like looking for the weirdos while I was there. Um there's So the laws in Iceland, as far as I could tell, they don't allow strip clubs, but they have like bikini bars. But the only people who are allowed to dance on the strip poles are the customers.
What?
So, and I think it's like $200 to get into a club.
Oh my God.
So it was very interesting being there. They're very like they put on the very family friendly facade. But I'm like, there must be some weird underground shit going on here because
For
wherever
sure.
there's that like puritanical sort of like family friendly, happy Cape Cod family, like that's where the weirdest shit is happening.
Yeah, I think that's what I love about New England, that like there's so much weird stuff going on. Also, like people there seem so aggressive, but I feel like most people in New England are so genuinely nice. And that's what really throws me off because it always sounds like they're about to try to fight you or something.
Yeah.
Like
I've
it's
had that
very
issue.
aggressive.
Since moving to the Midwest, people are like, "Why are you yelling at me? You sound so aggressive." And I'm like, "I'm just talking. I don't know." Like,
For real. So I have two final questions left for you.
sure.
So you've been in this industry for like 7 years. Is there anything that you still want to accomplish that you haven't so far?
Well, this is going to sound really cheesy, but one of my goals was to be on this podcast, but I
Oh
had
my God, really?
this is so corny, but I had imposter syndrome because I thought I haven't listened to all the episodes, so I thought it was just people who did like mainstream studio
Oh
stuff, and
no, fuck that.
I have a lot of imposter syndrome even though I've been doing this, and I've been doing like in-person stuff on Craigslist for
Oh,
like years and years, and I'm still like I feel like such a baby still. So I guess my goal is I would love to be published in a magazine. That is like a huge goal. I would love for some of my writing to be published, which is kind of a loftier goal, I think, but I've been trying to focus on a lot of like creative writing stuff. So, yeah, just having like a print publication would be really cool.
yeah. I actually, the person I just interviewed actually is a publisher and also in the Midwest who's a porn performer. Do you know Carta?
No, I've never heard of
Oh, you
them.
should link up with them. They're in Ann Arbor in Michigan. And
Cool.
they're doing writing, publishing, all that stuff, and still kind of sex work adjacent too. So yeah, I like when I
Definitely.
have podcasts that kind of go back to back like that, where I can be like, oh,
I will definitely have to look for them and say hi, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah. So I have one final one. This is my only like BuzzFeed out there kind of question.
Okay.
So let's say you wake up tomorrow and one thing important can magically change. What would you have it be?
Okay. I'll have to contemplate for a moment.
Okay. I can also answer when you're doing that if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
I want it to like, I just want porn to speed up 5 or 10 years where all these studios have way less power and the only directors that are really going to be around are like the ones who are actively adding something to productions, like creating good scripts or art direction or actually, you know, bring something to the table as opposed to I feel like maybe even 5 years ago where directors were just kind of more gatekeepers to performers to decide what performers got what gigs and who should be a star and all that stuff. I'm really hoping that content trade continues and performers have the majority of the power in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something people deserve. The people who are doing the work kind of like deserve to
For
have the
real.
majority vote. I guess kind of a specific thing, but something that's been on my mind since day one is like I would like sites to offer benefits
Hell yeah.
I know that Clips for Sale like kind of tried to do like a healthcare plan, sort of.
Vaguely, yeah.
That was like the only thing I've seen, but I think that offering like a set rate on cam would be great of like
That'd
a
be
base.
huge.
Yeah, like even if there's some obstacles of like you have to get, 10,000 followers first or something, like
Hmm.
I think there should just be more rewards because you and I have been camming a long time and it's
For
like
sure.
nothing has changed. Like I guess you can get like the bonus pay sometimes for contests or whatever, but I think just having more incentive because it is something I would have loved to do as like a full-time career because I'm really passionate about it, but there's some parts of me that I'm like, okay, I also want like a 401k
For
and
sure.
like health insurance and just a little more stability, and they would, I think, retain high quality performers for a longer time if they started offering that.
Yeah, truly imagine minivids did that. Like they would have be at such an advantage.
Definitely. And yeah, just treating it like a job, which it is, and it's a full time job, and like treating people like employees would be really beneficial, I think.
Yeah, I think these sites need to really be accountable for having all these workers and just kind of what conditions they're living in and everything. Especially with a lot of these cam companies, they're worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. I think there needs to be some accountability on actually giving more back to the sex workers who are making them their money.
Right, definitely. So that would be my one thing. Yeah, just more safety and security for performers, I think, is what we all really want.
I think that's a very good answer. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been so great to talk to you. Where can everyone find you?
So my website is princessaugustine.com. That has all my links and whatnot. And on my social media, the handle is XO_Augustine. And you can kind of navigate your way around there. So
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I hope to go again on your Skins podcast whenever we get around to some more episodes. I watched the mini one like 4 times, so I'm ready whenever you are.
yeah, I will be messaging you. Actually, I've been waiting to like message people to book that. So I would love to have you on the podcast again to talk about season 6. I'm excited
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, so follow Augustine on all of those apps and hopefully catch us talking about skins again soon on the Oh Wow podcast. Well,
Definitely.
well, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was fun.
Bye, everyone.